The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before the Stellar Federation's flagship, Luminous Dawn, as it glided silently through the darkness. Admiral Daho's weathered face showed little emotion as he watched the holographic displays casting their soft blue glow across the bridge. His years of experience had taught him to maintain composure, even in the most unusual situations. The fleet had been traveling for months on their exploration mission when they entered the Sol system. The ships moved past the gas giants with their swirling storms and countless moons. As they passed Neptune's blue depths, something unexpected appeared on their sensors. "Admiral, we're detecting an anomaly near the dwarf planet Pluto," reported Officer Minsu, his voice carrying a hint of confusion. "The energy readings are unlike anything we've encountered before." Daho moved closer to the main display, his dark uniform reflecting the shimmer of nearby screens. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, the only sounds being the soft hum of equipment and occasional beats from the control panels. "Show me the visual," Daho ordered, his deep voice calm and measured. The main screen flickered to life, revealing what appeared to be an artificial structure floating in space near Pluto. It was clearly not natural. Its geometric patterns and metallic surface spoke of advanced engineering. But what caught everyone's attention was the pulsing energy field surrounding it. Lieutenant Hana's fingers moved swiftly across her control panel as she attempted to analyze the object. "Sir, our scanners can't penetrate the energy field. The technology appears to be far beyond our current understanding." Daho noticed something else, strange symbols appearing on the surface of the marker. As they watched, the symbols began to shift and change, transforming into characters they could understand. The message was simple but clear: "Restricted zone. Do not approach." "Try running it through our historical database," Daho commanded, his eyes fixed on the mysterious marker. Young Mei, the ship's historian, spoke up from her station. "Admiral, the design doesn't match any known civilization in our records. However, the energy signature shows similarities to artifacts we found from the ancient times." The bridge fell silent at this revelation. The ancient times were a period thousands of years ago when incredibly advanced civilizations were said to exist. Most of their technology had been lost to time, with only fragments remaining. "Sir," Lieutenant Hana called out again, her voice now carrying a note of urgency. "We're picking up unusual energy signatures from the third planet as well. The patterns are different from anything in our database." Daho moved to her station, studying the new readings. The energy signatures from Earth pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. It wasn't just technology. It was something more complex, more evolved. "Begin full system scan," he ordered, wanting to gather as much information as possible before making any decisions. The results came in quickly, each new piece of data more surprising than the last. Earth showed signs of both primitive and highly advanced technology existing side by side. Power signatures indicated they had mastered nuclear fusion, but there were also hints of something far more sophisticated hidden beneath the surface. "Maintain distance and continue monitoring," Daho instructed his crew. "No one approaches that marker or the third planet without my direct orders." As he returned to his command chair, Daho felt a slight shiver run down his spine. In all his years of space exploration, he had never encountered anything quite like this. The marker was clearly a warning, but from whom? And why was this particular system marked as restricted? The crew continued their observations, recording every detail they could about both the marker and Earth. The mystery deepened as more data came in, showing unusual patterns in Earth's development that didn't match any known civilization's growth path. "Admiral," Young Mai spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper, "I found something in the deepest parts of our historical archives. There are old stories, legends really, about a system that was sealed off by beings of immense power. The stories say they were protecting something, or protecting everyone else from something." Daho's expression remained stoic, but his mind was racing with possibilities. Whatever secrets this system held, they were clearly important enough for an advanced civilization to place a warning marker. The question now was whether to heed that warning or let curiosity guide their next actions. As the bridge crew waited for his decision, the marker's pulsing grew stronger, as if sensing their presence and deliberation. The message remained unchanged, glowing with an almost threatening intensity. Restricted zone. Do not approach. The soft glow of countless monitors filled the bridge as Commander Jai-1 carefully monitored the first contact protocols. Her dark eyes moved between screens showing various communication attempts with Earth. She had been chosen for this task because of her careful nature and years of experience in diplomatic missions. Status report. She called out to her communication team, her voice steady despite the growing tension in the room. Earth's responses are unexpected, replied Senior Officer Sioa, adjusting her headset. They're not only receiving our signals but responding in multiple formats we didn't even transmit in. They seem to be testing our communication capabilities. Jai-1 leaned forward, studying the incoming data streams. The humans weren't behaving like any newly contacted species they had encountered before. Instead of showing surprise or fear at alien contact, they appeared to be analyzing the Stellar Federation's technology with remarkable sophistication. Officer Kita sat at his scanning station, his young face reflecting both excitement and frustration. Fresh from the academy, he was eager to make his mark on this historic mission. He watched as Earth's ships moved with incredible speed, using what appeared to be an entirely unknown form of faster-than-light travel. "Commander," Kita called out, his fingers hovering over his console. "If we could just get a detailed scan of their propulsion systems, we might understand how they've achieved this technology." "Negative, Officer Kita," Jai-1 replied firmly. "We follow first contact protocols exactly. No deep scans without permission." But Kita couldn't contain his curiosity. While the commander was focused on a new transmission, he quietly initiated a deep scan of the nearest Earth vessel, bypassing several safety protocols in the process. The response was immediate and devastating. Warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. The scanning systems didn't just stop. They completely crashed, overloaded by some kind of feedback pulse. "What have you done?" Jai-1 demanded, watching in horror as system after system began to fail. The ship's lights flickered, and the artificial gravity wavered momentarily. I just wanted to understand their technology," Kita stammered, desperately trying to restore his systems. A wave of energy rippled through the ship, shutting down communications, weapons, and navigation systems one by one. The backup systems attempted to activate, but failed just as quickly. Engineering reports complete power failure in sections 3 through 7. Sioa reported, her voice tense. "Whatever hit us, it's not just affecting our scanning systems, it's spreading through the entire ship's network." Jai-1 quickly activated the emergency isolation protocols, trying to contain the damage. "Cut all connections to the main computer core," she ordered. "Switch to manual controls." The bridge crew worked frantically to save what systems they could. Through the main viewport, they could see other ships in their fleet experiencing similar problems. Those that had been closest to Earth when the scan was initiated were completely dark, drifting helplessly in space. "Message coming in from Earth," Sioa announced, using one of the few remaining functional systems, text only. The message appeared on the main screen. "Unauthorized scanning detected. This serves as your only warning. Further attempts will result in more severe consequences." Jai-1 felt a chill run down her spine. The humans hadn't just defended against their scan. They had turned it back on them with devastating effect. This was technology far beyond what any newly discovered civilization should possess. "Send our apologies," Jai-1 ordered. "Make it clear this was an unauthorized action and will not be repeated." As the crew worked to restore their systems, they received another message from Earth. "Your apology is noted. Basic systems will be restored in 1 hour. Remember, Curiosity must be tempered with respect. Keita sat at his dead console, his face pale with shame and fear. "Commander, I'm sorry. I never thought." "No, you didn't think." Jai-1 cut him off. "You nearly caused an interstellar incident. When our systems are back online, you'll be confined to quarters pending disciplinary action." The next hour passed slowly as they drifted in space, most of their technology useless. Jai-1 used the time to write her report to Admiral Daho. This first contact was proving to be unlike anything in the Federation's history. The humans were not just technically advanced. They had defensive capabilities that could render a Federation battleship helpless without firing a single shot. True to their word, exactly 1 hour later, the ship's systems began to restart. As power returned, Jai-1 made a decision. They would need to completely reconsider their approach to Earth. These weren't primitives to be studied. They were equals, perhaps even superiors, in some ways. "Send a message to all ships," she ordered. "No scans, no probes, no analysis without explicit permission from Earth. We proceed with diplomacy only, following their protocols, not ours." The incident had made one thing very clear. Earth was not a world to be taken lightly, and its inhabitants were far more capable than anyone in the Federation had imagined. Science Officer Sunmei stood before the gathered command staff in the main briefing room, her hands gripping her data pad tightly. The soft hum of the ship's engines provided a backdrop to the tense atmosphere as she prepared to share her discoveries. Admiral Daho sat at the head of the table, his face showing the weight of recent events. The failed scanning attempt and Earth's display of power had left the fleet in a precarious position. Around him, other officers waited anxiously for answers. After analyzing the data from the Pluto marker and comparing it with our historical records, Sunmai began, her voice barely steady. "I've made a discovery that changes everything we thought we knew." She activated the room's holographic display, showing images of the marker alongside ancient texts and diagrams. The marker isn't just a simple warning sign. It's a protection measure placed there by the ancestors themselves. The room fell completely silent. Every officer present knew the legends of the ancestors, the mysterious beings who had vanished thousands of years ago, leaving behind remarkable technology that had helped shape modern space travel. "Are you absolutely certain?" Admiral Daho asked, leaning forward in his chair. Sun Mi nodded, bringing up more detailed scans. "The energy signature matches perfectly with other ancestor artifacts we've discovered. But there's more." She paused, taking a deep breath. "The marker's internal data storage contains information about why Earth was sealed off." Commander Jai-1, still shaken from the scanning incident, spoke up. "What reason could the ancestors have had to isolate an entire planet?" "The humans," Sun Mi continued, displaying new data streams. "They evolved differently from every other known species. In isolation, they developed unique traits, including a natural resistance to psychic influences." The implications of this statement caused murmurs among the officers. Psychic ability was common among many advanced species, often used for communication and navigation. "Our initial scans, before the incident, showed something extraordinary," Sun Mi explained. "Human brains appear to have natural shields, mental barriers that developed over thousands of years of isolation. The quarantine wasn't established to protect them. It was to protect everyone else." Admiral Daho's expression darkened. "Explain." "The ancestors discovered that human minds could not only resist psychic influence, but could potentially overwhelm and damage other psychic species. Their mental patterns are completely different, potentially harmful to unprepared minds." Sun Mi brought up more historical data. "There are records, deeply buried in our archives, of early contact attempts with Earth by other civilizations. Every attempt ended in disaster. Ships lost, crews driven mad, communication systems overloaded." The room's tension grew as the implications became clear. Lieutenant Hannah spoke up from her seat near the back. "Is that what happened during our scanning attempt?" "Some kind of psychic backlash." "Exactly," Sun Mi confirmed. The humans have learned to harness this ability. They've combined it with technology in ways we never imagined possible. The feedback that disabled our ships wasn't just technological, it was partially psychic in nature. Admiral Daho stood up, walking to the holographic display. The ancestors didn't just abandon Earth, he said slowly. They sealed it off to allow this development to happen naturally, without interference. Yes, Sunmei agreed. And now we know why. Humans aren't just another species, they're something entirely new. Their isolation has made them unique in the galaxy. The briefing room erupted in quiet discussions as officers processed this information. The implications were staggering. They weren't dealing with a primitive species that had somehow acquired advanced technology. They were facing a completely new form of intelligent life, one that had evolved in ways no one had thought possible. There's one more thing, Sunmai added, her voice cutting through the chatter. The marker contains a warning about direct contact with human minds. Extended exposure could permanently alter other species' psychic abilities. The ancestors believe humans might be the next step in cognitive evolution. Admiral Daho turned to face his officers. This information changes our entire approach. We're not here to study them or guide them. We're here to establish diplomatic relations with a species that might be more advanced than us in ways we're only beginning to understand. The revelation settled over the room like a heavy blanket. What had started as a routine exploration mission had turned into first contact with potentially the most significant species they had ever encountered. The quarantine marker wasn't just a warning. It was a sign pointing to humanity's unique place in the galaxy. As the briefing concluded, Sunmei gathered her data pad, her hand still shaking slightly. She had just rewritten their understanding of both human history and the ancestors' legacy. The question now was what they would do with this knowledge. Captain Taeyong stood at the helm of his vessel, the Star Seeker, as it led a small group of ships toward Earth's orbit. Despite the clear warnings and recent revelations, he had convinced Admiral Daho that a closer look was necessary to understand the full extent of human capabilities. "Enter standard orbit pattern," he commanded, his voice firm despite the tension filling the bridge. "Keep our defensive systems passive. We don't want to appear threatening." The ships moved gracefully through space, their engines humming quietly as they approached Earth's orbital zone. What appeared to be simple communications satellites dotted the space around the planet, looking primitive compared to Federation technology. "Sir," called out Weapons Officer Yuna, "something's happening with those satellites." Before she could elaborate, the seemingly basic satellites began to transform. Panels shifted and unfolded, revealing sophisticated weapons systems that had been perfectly concealed. The primitive-looking devices morphed into advanced defense platforms right before their eyes. "This is impossible," Taeyong muttered, watching as his tactical display lit up with hundreds of defense systems. Each platform radiated energy signatures that matched ancestor technology, but they were different, more refined, more powerful. "Captain, they're scanning us," reported Senior Officer Ho Jin from his station. "They're scanning technology. It's cutting through our shields like they don't even exist." The bridge crew watched in amazement as more defense systems revealed themselves. What they had initially dismissed as space debris transformed into automated defense units. Earth's orbital space had become a web of advanced technology that had been invisible to their sensors moments before. "Message incoming from Earth Control," announced Communications Officer Minji. Text and audio. A calm voice filled the bridge. "Federation vessels, you have entered restricted space without authorization. Your presence here is a violation of established boundaries. You have 5 minutes to retreat beyond lunar orbit." Taeyong straightened his uniform, trying to maintain his composure. "Send our response. Tell them we're here on a peaceful mission to better understand their capabilities." "Sir," Yuma interrupted, her voice tense, "the defense platforms are powering up. Their weapon systems are unlike anything in our database. They've taken elements of ancestor technology and improved them." The tactical display continued to update, showing more details about Earth's defenses. What had seemed like a lightly protected planet had transformed into one of the most heavily fortified worlds they had ever encountered. Additional signatures detected, Ho Jin reported. Something's rising from the planet's surface. Multiple objects, moving fast. Through the main viewport, they watched as sleek vessels emerged from Earth's atmosphere. Their design was elegant yet clearly built for combat, incorporating both Federation-style technology and completely unknown elements. Another message from Earth Control, Minji announced. They say, your presence has been noted. Your study of our defenses has been noted. This will be your final warning. The next violation will be met with decisive action. Taeyang gripped the edge of his command chair, studying the situation. The humans hadn't just discovered ancestor technology. They had mastered it and evolved it beyond anything the Federation had achieved. Every passing moment revealed new layers of their defensive capabilities. Sir, Yuna spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. I'm detecting energy buildups in their defense platforms. The power readings, they're off the scale. A small demonstration followed. One of the defense platforms fired a precise beam into empty space, creating a temporary distortion that made several officers gasp. The technology behind it was both familiar and foreign. Ancestor designs taken in entirely new directions. 3 minutes remaining until their deadline. Captain, Ho Jin reminded him. Taeyang realized he had severely underestimated the situation. These weren't primitive humans playing with discovered technology. This was a civilization that had taken advanced concepts and pushed them further than anyone had thought possible. Begin withdrawal procedures, he ordered, his pride giving way to wisdom. Take us back beyond lunar orbit, slowly and carefully. As they retreated, the defense platforms tracked their every move, maintaining target locks until they passed the designated boundary. The human ships escorted them to the safe zone, their presence a clear reminder of Earth's capabilities. Send a full report to Admiral Daho, Taeyang commanded once they were clear. Tell him we need to completely reassess our approach. These humans haven't just found ancestor technology, they've surpassed it. The bridge crew worked in silence, processing what they had witnessed. Earth's orbital defense system had been a carefully crafted illusion, hiding sophisticated technology behind a facade of primitive satellites. It was a level of deception and technological advancement that would change how the Federation approached future contact with Earth. As they moved back to their original position, Taeyang watched the tactical display return to its previous state, showing only simple satellites and space debris. He knew now that this too was an illusion, a carefully maintained facade hiding one of the most advanced defensive systems in known space. The space station hung silently between Earth and Moon, its sleek design reflecting both Federation and human engineering. Inside the main conference chamber, the air felt heavy with anticipation as two civilizations prepared for their first official meeting. Representative Jin'ei sat calmly at one end of the polished table, her simple blue uniform bearing Earth's new United Government symbol. She watched as the Federation delegation filed into the room, led by Admiral Daho and flanked by his senior staff. "Welcome to Harmony Station," Jin'ei said, rising to greet them. Her voice carried both warmth and authority. "We appreciate your willingness to meet on neutral ground." The Federation officers took their seats, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and caution. The chamber's windows offered a spectacular view of Earth below, its blue surface peaceful despite the recent tensions. "Before we begin formal discussions," Jin'ei continued, "I believe we owe you an explanation." She touched a control panel embedded in the table, and the room's lights dimmed slightly. A holographic display materialized above the table, showing the red surface of Mars. The image zoomed in on what appeared to be ordinary rock formations, then shifted to reveal massive underground structures. "We discovered the first ancestor ruins on Mars 50 years ago," Jin'ei explained, as the hologram displayed vast underground cities and technological marvels. But that was just the beginning. The display shifted again, showing deep ocean trenches on Earth. Hidden beneath layers of sediment lay more ruins, perfectly preserved. Advanced technology, data archives, and engineering beyond current Federation standards filled the screens. These discoveries were made long before we announced ourselves to the galaxy. Jin A continued. We chose to remain quiet, to learn and develop at our own pace. Your arrival simply moved up our timeline for revelation. Admiral Deho leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the displays. These facilities, they're fully functional. Jin A nodded, changing the display to show active human research centers built within the ancient structures. We didn't just find their technology. We found their knowledge, their history, their mistakes. We learned from all of it. The hologram showed humans working alongside machines that merged ancestor designs with Earth innovations. Federation officers exchanged glances as they recognized technology far more advanced than their own. But why hide? Commander Jaiwan asked. The Federation could have helped with your development. Jin A's expression remained gentle but firm. Would you have? Truly? Or would you have tried to guide our development according to Federation standards? She paused, letting the question sink in. We needed to find our own path. The display changed again, showing Earth's defense systems transforming from simple satellites into their true forms. We built upon what we found, adapted it, improved it. Every discovery led to new questions, new possibilities, and the psychic abilities mentioned in the ancestor records. Admiral Deho asked carefully. Jin A touched her temple lightly. A natural evolution, as they predicted. Our isolation allowed our minds to develop differently. We learned to shield ourselves, then to reach out in new ways. Your scanning attempt encountered those abilities. The Federation officers shifted uncomfortably at the reminder. Jin A continued, her voice softening. We don't wish to seem threatening. We only want to ensure our independence and safety as we join the galactic community. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at Earth. Humanity has come far, but we know we have much to learn. We hope to work with the Federation as equals, sharing knowledge and culture while maintaining our unique path. The holographic display showed a final image, Earth's ships and Federation vessels working together, a possible future of cooperation rather than confrontation. We are ready to join the galactic community, Jin A concluded, turning back to face the delegation. But we will do so on terms that respect both our independence and our potential. Admiral Deho nodded slowly, understanding the message beneath her diplomatic words. Earth wasn't asking for permission or approval. They were announcing their presence as an equal power. Perhaps, he suggested, we could begin by sharing information about the ancestor technologies we've each discovered. Under careful protocols, of course. Jin A smiled, returning to her seat. That would be an excellent starting point, Admiral. Though I suspect we may surprise you with how far we've already come. The meeting continued, with both sides carefully laying the groundwork for future cooperation. The humans revealed enough to prove their capabilities while keeping their most advanced developments private. The Federation delegates gradually relaxed as they realized that Earth truly sought partnership rather than conflict. As the formal discussions wound down, Jin A activated one final hologram, a star map showing potential joint exploration routes. There is so much yet to discover, she said. We believe we can accomplish more together than apart, as long as our independence is respected. The message was clear. Earth was ready to join the galactic community, but they would do so as equals, not as students or subjects. The path forward would require both sides to adjust their expectations and learn to work together in new ways. Chief Historian Hajun sat alone in the vast archives aboard the luminous Dawn, surrounded by holographic displays showing ancient texts and data streams. The soft blue glow of the screens reflected off his tired face as he dug deeper into the historical records than anyone had gone before. The revelation from Earth's representative had prompted him to re-examine everything the Federation knew about the ancestors. As he cross-referenced data and translated long-forgotten languages, Patterns began to emerge that no one had noticed before. "This can't be," he whispered to himself, double-checking his findings. His hands trembled as he pulled up more files, more translations, more evidence. Each new piece of information confirmed his suspicions. He quickly contacted Admiral Daho, his voice urgent. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately. It's about the humans and the ancestors." Minutes later, Admiral Daho entered the archives, followed by Commander Jaiwan. They found Hejun surrounded by even more displays, his eyes bright with excitement and disbelief. "Admiral," Hejun began, his voice shaking slightly, "the humans, they're not just random descendants who found ancestor technology. They're the inheritors. The ancestors didn't vanish into nothing. They became human." Daho stared at him. "Explain." Hejun brought up several ancient star charts. "Look at these migration patterns from the final days of the ancestor civilization. They all lead to one place, Earth. But they didn't just travel there. They transformed themselves." He displayed more data, showing complex genetic sequences. The ancestors were facing a crisis. Their technological advancement had outpaced their biological evolution. They were becoming too dependent on machines, losing touch with their natural abilities. "So they chose to start over?" Jaiwan asked, studying the displays. "More than that," Hejun explained. "They designed a complete biological reset. They used Earth as a laboratory, merging their essence with early human ancestors. They didn't just die out. They chose to be reborn." The Admiral walked slowly around the room, examining the evidence. "The quarantine marker was left to protect their experiment," Hejun finished. "They wanted their children, humanity, to develop naturally without interference from other species. The psychic resistance, the technological aptitude, the unique mental patterns, these weren't accidents. They were inherited traits, dormant until humanity reached the right stage of development." He brought up more recent scans of human brain patterns. "Their minds aren't just resistant to psychic influence. They're evolving into something new, something that combines the best aspects of both their ancestral lines. The ancestors planned this, seeded this potential into human DNA." Commander Jaiwan sat heavily in a nearby chair. "This explains why they adapted to ancestor technology so quickly. They're not copying it. They're remembering it at some deep genetic level." "Exactly," Hejun said. "When humans found those ruins on Mars and under their oceans, they weren't just discovering alien technology. They were rediscovering their own heritage." Admiral Daho's face showed deep thought as he processed this information. "The Federation Council needs to know about this immediately. This changes everything about our approach to Earth." "There's more," Hejun added, pulling up new displays. "The ancestors left markers throughout human development, subtle guides to help them rediscover their true nature when they were ready. The ruins weren't just abandoned. They were carefully placed time capsules. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just another species that had stumbled upon advanced technology. They were the chosen inheritors of the most advanced civilization known to exist, carefully guided through thousands of years of evolution to become something entirely new." "The Federation has been thinking about this all wrong," Daho said quietly. "We thought we were discovering a new species. Instead, we're witnessing the rebirth of the ancestors themselves, but in a new form with new potential." Hejun nodded. "And based on these records, they're only beginning to access their true capabilities. The psychic abilities we've seen, their technological innovations, these are just the first steps in their awakening." The three officers stood in silence, surrounded by the evidence of humanity's true heritage. The Federation had sought to understand and possibly guide Earth's development, never realizing they were dealing with the direct descendants of the civilization that had made their own technology possible. "We need to approach them differently now," Jaiwan suggested. "Not as newcomers to be taught, but as the children of those who taught us all." Admiral Daho straightened his uniform, his decision made. Prepare a full report for the Federation Council, but mark it as highest security clearance. This information needs to be handled very carefully. As Ho Jun began compiling his findings, he paused over one last piece of data. Admiral, according to these records, what we've seen so far is just the beginning. The ancestors built in stages of development that humanity hasn't even reached yet. The truth about Earth and its inhabitants would reshape the galaxy's understanding of both history and potential. Humanity wasn't just emerging onto the galactic stage. They were reclaiming their birthright as the children of the stars themselves. Senior diplomat Yun Seo stood before the combined delegation of Earth and Federation representatives, holding the final version of the treaty in her hands. The document represented weeks of careful negotiation, each word chosen to respect both humanity's heritage and their future potential. The grand meeting hall aboard Harmony Station buzzed with quiet conversation as officials from both sides reviewed the terms one last time. The massive windows showed Earth below, its blue surface peaceful against the dark expanse of space. The terms are fair, Yun Seo began, her clear voice carrying across the room. Earth will be recognized as a sovereign power, its territory extending from the sun to the edge of the solar system. All approaches must be approved through proper channels. Representative Jin A nodded from her seat, while Admiral Daeho watched thoughtfully from the Federation side. The treaty would replace the ancient warning marker with something new, a declaration of Earth's power and independence. Furthermore, Yun Seo continued, Earth agrees to share certain technological developments with the Federation, while maintaining its right to preserve its most advanced innovations. Joint research projects will be established, with both sides contributing equally. The hall remained quiet as she outlined the remaining points. Trade routes would be established, cultural exchanges encouraged, and diplomatic channels opened. But at its core, the treaty acknowledged Earth as an equal power, not a junior member of the galactic community. The new warning beacons will be installed at key points throughout the solar system, Yun Seo explained, bringing up a holographic display of the planned network. These will serve not just as warnings, but as symbols of Earth's new status. The design of the beacons combined Earth's modified ancestor technology with modern Federation communication systems. They would broadcast their message in all known languages. Earth's space was protected, not by ancient laws, but by humanity's own strength. Admiral Daeho stepped forward to sign first, his pen hovering over the document. This marks a new chapter in galactic history, he said, looking at the assembled delegates, one that none of us could have predicted. As the signing ceremony concluded, preparations began for the Federation fleet's departure. The ships would carry news of Earth's true nature back to their worlds, along with warnings about respecting humanity's wishes. From his command chair on the luminous dawn, Admiral Daeho watched as the first new beacon was activated. Its energy signature was unlike anything in Federation records, a perfect blend of ancient wisdom and human innovation. Send the final message to Federation Command, he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of all they had discovered. Tell them the children of the ancestors have not only awakened, but have surpassed their parents' legacy. The fleet's engines hummed to life as they prepared for hyperspace. Below them, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, no longer hidden behind ancient warnings, but proudly displaying its true power. It's strange, Commander Jai-1 remarked, standing beside the Admiral. We came here expecting to find a primitive world in need of guidance. Instead, we found our teachers' children, grown into their own power. The first ships began to disappear into hyperspace, their departure marked by flashes of light against the dark canvas of space. Each vessel carried stories that would soon spread throughout the galaxy, tales of humanity's true heritage and their remarkable evolution. The galaxy will never be the same, Daeho said quietly, watching Earth grow smaller in their view screen. They've chosen to emerge now, at their own pace in their own way. All we can do is adapt to the new reality they represent. The luminous dawn prepared for its jump to hyperspace. Behind them, the new warning beacons pulsed with steady light, their message clear to any who approached. Earth was no longer hidden behind ancient protection. It stood on its own, powerful and independent. As the last ship vanished into hyperspace, Earth continued its solitary journey through space. The planet that had transformed from a curiosity to a legend in a matter of days would now forge its own path among the stars. The isolation was over, but Earth's story was just beginning. Its reputation would echo through the galaxies for centuries to come, not as a protected relic of the past, but as the birthplace of humanity. The children of the ancestors who had grown to surpass their legacy. In the vast archives of the Federation, a new chapter was already being written. Earth was no longer off limits because of ancient warnings. It was off limits by choice, by right, and by the power of a species that had finally awakened to its true potential.